Good morning. This morning we're talking about Spark New Zealand, SPK, on the ASX, while most other commentators are probably talking about the short-term disaster that we're seeing play out on the ASX as far as Wisetech is concerned. I thought we'd look at a real disaster. So, Spark New Zealand. As I always say, I try to draw the most fair and relevant trend line I can see in a chart, and this is the trend line that I see with Spark New Zealand. You can see that after a very successful start, the company plummeted between the years of 2000 and 2010. It then made what looked like it was going to be a sustained recovery. This is the company that I see as New Zealand's Telstra, so it has something of a captive market. But what we have seen in just over the last year, or just under the last year, is a significant disaster. A collapse of more than 50% in the stock's price. This is how Spark presents itself to the world, this beautiful image. It has the long white cloud, it has the rugged, dramatic peaks of New Zealand. As usual, I have had ChatGPT present or prepare a 10-minute script analysing Spark New Zealand. The idea behind this is simply that it gives viewers an alternative view, since ChatGPT is going to present the kind of analysis that you might expect from the conventional stock market analysis industry. The idea here is that if you want to read an alternative view, you can simply pause the video as you go through to read what ChatGPT has to say about Spark New Zealand. So, the significance, in my mind, of Spark GTP, of Spark, I should say, is that this was my focus when I looked at the chart in, it would have been April 2024, leading up to the 1st of May 2024, which was around the time that I used SPK as an example in a Zoom call, an example of a company with a very consistent pattern of growth and a consistent trading pattern which provided investors with an opportunity to regularly take profit. And here is the chart since the 1st of May, covering the period since the 1st of May last year. You will see that, if you go back and have a look at the longer term chart, you will see that this decline was perfectly in keeping with the pattern that had been established over more than a decade of trading before that. My expectation was that about this point the stock would start to rise again, and the expectation, the recommendation was that this was a good time to buy into the stock. You will see that since this time the stock has essentially collapsed. So here's the chart with the MACD. You'll see that the MACD demonstrated a number of potential buy points here, 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 here. These buy points have to be assessed in context. So after this initial buy point failed, then became a challenge to identify when the stock had finished forming. What you can see is that while the decline was, in a sense, manageable, well, not manageable, gradual, let's say, or relatively gradual, the most recent event makes Wisetech look healthy. The recent price plunge of more than 15% in a day is the reason for this video. So here are the fundamentals, and the point I make obviously is that the average investor wouldn't look at these historical fundamentals and think that the company was in danger of imminent collapse. So the underlying message here is that the performance of a company depends on the people who are managing it. What we've seen with Wisetech is 4 directors resign on one day, or 4 members of the board resign on one day. As far as I'm aware, no one has resigned from the Spark board. And here is the focus of what Spark tells us is its problem. The analysis that Spark has provided as to its catastrophic drop in value is focused on a loss of income from the big end of town, enterprise and big government. Stay competitive in a digital world. The question is the board of Spark being ironic and intentionally with that message to its core market? It seems that the core market has taken heed of this advice and left Spark. So yeah, I am rather defensive about the advice I gave last May, suggesting that Spark was a good potential investment. The point I'm making here is simply that I wasn't alone. If you go onto YouTube and search out this video from Vi Australia, you'll see that other analysts thought that Spark presented a great opportunity for investors. Now, this isn't really a silver lining, it's simply a relevant comparison. Here is the long-term chart of Telstra, and you will see that similarly to Spark, it has enjoyed rather a checkered history. In fact, there's some quite clear parallels between the two companies. The parallel that is most relevant at this point is this drastic collapse that occurred in the Telstra price between 2015 and 2018. So if this is indicative of what's going to happen to Spark, there will come a time when Spark presents a good investment, just like Telstra. And probably as an Australian investor, you know people who have held on to Telstra for years, if not decades. So the curious conclusion I've come to is that all things being as they were in the past, it looks like Spark might actually achieve a greater and more significant recovery than Telstra has. And here's the board of Spark. I just wanted to put their faces up in front of the world, even though only a few people are going to see this video. I'm sure all these people are perfectly charming, but their management of Spark has been an absolute disgrace. That's it for this video, and here's the disclaimer.